Om Vishvam Darpana Drishyamana Nagari Tulyannijantargatam Pashyannātmani Māyaya Bahiribhūtbhūtam Yatha Nidraya Yassākṣāt Kurute Prabodhasamaye Svatmanamevadvayam Tasmai Shri Guru Murtaye Namahidam Shri Dakshinamurtaye Bijasyantarivāṅkuro Jagadidam Prāṅnirvikalpam Punaha Maya Kalpita Deshakalakalana Vaichitra Chitri Kritam Maya Viva Vijrumbhayatyapi Mahayogi Vayasvechaya Tasmai Shri Guru Murtaye Namahidam Shri Dakshinamurtaye Tasmai Shri Guru Murtaye Namahidam Shri Dakshinamurtaye Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryan Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai Om Shanti 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 Sadashivasamarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Om. Third mantra. Jagaritasthanaha Bahishprajñaha Saptangaha Ekonavimshati Mukhaha Sthulabhuk Vaishvanarah Prathamah Padaha. So, idam sarvam Omkāra eva. First mantra. Idam sarvam Brahma eva. Second mantra. All that is here is Brahman, the limitless consciousness, which is Omkāra. Sarvam hi etad Omkāra. Sarvam hi etad Brahma. And therefore, Brahman is Omkāra. By understanding Omkāra, one understands Brahman. By understanding Brahman, one understands Omkāra. Omkāra stands for abhidhāna, name. And Brahman is abhidheya. And if you remember, we discussed abhidhāna, abhidheya, ekattva pratipattihi. So basically, generally it happens that when you utter a name and object is different. Bring a pot. There, abhidhāna, the pot name, is not the object abhidheya, because you get up. Bring a pot means if the name abhidhāna itself is abhidheya, then you need not get up. But you know, the pot word is uttered, but pot object is different. And in fact, that's our understanding also, that abhidheya is more important. Object has a more reality. This abhidhanam is a gaunam. But that's a wrong understanding. Abhidhāna and abhidheya ekattva pratipattihi. So basically, so when you utter any word, name, you think there is a corresponding object, abhidheya, externally in the world. But it's a wrong understanding. Vācārambhanam vikāro nāmadheyam. What is there is just one Brahman. Therefore, the difference between one object, abhidheya, and another object, abhidheya, is abhidhāna. Difference between two objects is not the difference of two objects. The difference between two objects is the difference in the name of the object. Because the abhidheya is only Brahman. Vācārambhanam vikāro nāmadheyam. Please understand. So you uttered pot and you won't find a pot object. What you find is Brahman. This is the Shastra. And so basically, all that is there is one Brahman. Sarvam hi etat Brahma. Sarvam hi etat Omkāra. So by understanding Omkāra, you understand Brahman. So you uttered, because Omkāra stands for all the words. We have discussed all this. I am just reminding a little bit. Omkāra stands for all names. Between A and Ma, you open a mouth. Makara means you close the mouth. Between you open a mouth and close the mouth, all the letters, all words. So basically there is a world of words. But what is there as abhidheya is just one thing. Sarvami etad Brahma. So otherwise you cannot say Sarvami etad Omkāra. All that is Omkāra, means all that is this varieties of the abhidhāna names. What you find as a reality, as an object in reality, means just Brahman. And that way, by understanding Omkāra, one understands Brahman. By understanding Brahman, one understands Omkāra. Either way. So real abhidheya by any name, abhidhāna. Real abhidheya for Omkāra is Brahman. That too. Basically, Brahman which is distinct from abhidhāna and abhidheya both. But when you talk about the abhidhāna, real abhidheya is just Brahman alone. So anyway, that Brahman happens to be Ayam Ātmā. That's in second mantra only. So Sarvami etad Omkārah first, Sarvami etad Brahma second mantra, and there itself it is said Ayam Ātmā Brahma. So Ayam Ātmā alone has to be discussed. And therefore, henceforth, from third mantra onwards, word Brahman is dropped. Because Brahman is Ātmā. Okay, then we will discuss now all four padas, etc., all of Ātmā. So Brahman is discussed, but Ayam Ātmā is Brahma. So Brahma Shabda is given up now. But what is discussed is Brahman. Because Brahman is Ayam Ātmā, so they will use the word Ātmā. Ātmā as a Chatushpatvam, etc. Ātmā is four pada. We say where Brahman has gone. But it is already equated in Mahavakya. So this is how Sarvami etad Brahma, and this comes after, as I told you, Sarvami etad Omkāra. And there it is not said, of course. Sarvami etad Omkāra, you don't find anything. It's a paroksha. It's like a Omkāra, everything is Omkāra, that's fine. But has it that Omkāra has any connection to the self or Brahman, or not said in the first mantra? So it's a paroksha, like object. Omkāra is like an object. Well, so, and when Brahman has been discussed, it is immediately equated with the Ātmā in the second mantra. Anyway, so then Omkāra will feel neglected. I have not been included. No. So, abhidhāna, Omkāra is abhidhāna, abhidheya is Brahman. That's how it is connection. So, this is how it is. And once it is said, Ayam Ātmā Brahma, so Ayam Ātmā Chatushpat. That's the second mantra only. After that, Brahma Shabda is given up completely. Brahman and Ātmā are equated. That is the reason. And so, Ātmā is everything. Brahman is everything means Ātmā is everything. And that is to be established now. And it says, well, three padas plus the fourth one, well, together is everything. So this is how, so Jagrita Sthana, Swapna Sthana, Sushupti Sthana. Third mantra will talk about the waker and the waking world. The fourth mantra will talk about the dreamer and the dream world. Fifth and sixth mantra will talk about this deep sleeper and in the Karana Prapancha, etc. And the seventh mantra talks about the fourth one, that Turiya, etc. So 4 quarters. And we understand when we go to Turiya, means that state, let us say, then you understand everything is one. The fourth is really not fourth. Since the fourth is distinct from 3, and but the fourth pervades all the 3. Fourth is distinct from the 3, transcends 3, but this 3 cannot transcend fourth, and therefore, if 3 cannot transcend fourth, then fourth pervades is immanent in all the three. And therefore, that's how it is going to be. Bahish prajña, antah prajña, prajña. Atma is prajña, consciousness. So, Vaker is not Vaker. Vaker is Vaker consciousness. In fact, Vaker is consciousness. Consciousness is not Vaker. Vaker is consciousness. Thereby, consciousness, the Atma is distinct from the Vaker. But the Vaker is not distinct from the consciousness, non-separate from the consciousness, and therefore consciousness pervades the Vaker. And therefore, once we reach to the Turiya, fourth state, so that consciousness, when you understand, then you understand everything is one. Because the Vaker is consciousness, the dreamer is consciousness, the waking world is consciousness, dream world is consciousness, the deep sleeper is consciousness, the unmanifest is consciousness. Therefore, consciousness alone is. Then you understand it's whole, because there is nothing else then. So, once you reach to Turiya, it's like, the particular actor has taken three different, he has assumed three roles. In a three different, in a single drama, he has assumed, suppose, three roles. Then definitely you understand the role, only you understand the actor. Otherwise, it's not a role. So basically, a king or a monk or could be a beggar. All the three roles, let's say, that you will take it as real. But when you reach the fourth, actor, wow, then you understand all the three are non-separate from the actor. But actor is distinct from these three, therefore we call fourth. But actor definitely pervades all the three. In fact, everyone is actor. When you say the beggar is actor, basically, and then this monk is an actor, and the king is actor, what is there is actor. Therefore, whole. So there are not four parts. Please understand this. So this is how we have to understand. Consciousness is, that's how pūrṇatvam, pūrṇamadaഃ pūrṇamidam. Consciousness is whole. How will we experience whole, Swamiji? Whole is not to be experienced. If it is an object of experience, and an experience is different from that, then that whole has a whole, actually. That whole has a whole, because it is experience is away from that. So simple to understand. Infinite plus something cannot be there. Infinite minus something also cannot be there. Infinite plus infinite. Swamiji, double infinite. Wrong. Infinite minus infinite. Swamiji, zero. Wrong. If infinite minus infinite is zero, that infinite is a finite. If it is, let us say, 11 trillion something, because nowadays trillion things are going on everywhere. So, because of our tariff business, trillions. Anyway, so 11 trillion, this many billion, this many number, minus same 11 trillion, etc. Some is zero. But that is not infinite, it's a finite. Infinite plus cannot be. Infinite minus something cannot be. And therefore, once you understand infinite, the Turiya, you understand whole. And if you don't understand Turiya, definitely all are different. Everything is real. Understanding Turiya alone, you understand that's a real. All three are just Mithyā. That's how it is going to be discussed. And there also that subject-object, so waker and the waking world, and the dreamer and the dream world, and etc. Vashti-samashti, subject-object, all is combined together. Even in this third mantra we are going to see, they are combined. Because there is no difference. Why there is no difference? Vashti-samashti, subject-object, no difference. Hey, subject is subject consciousness. Object is object consciousness. And therefore what is there is consciousness. Subject is subject consciousness. I would not stop at that point. Subject is subject consciousness. I would not stop at that point. Subject is consciousness. That's my final version. Object is object consciousness, Swamiji. Therefore, there is an object consciousness, qualified consciousness. There is nothing like that. Object is consciousness. Object consciousness is consciousness. Please understand, because consciousness plus object, consciousness plus subject cannot be. What is there is just an apparent thing. That's what it is going to be discussed. Is sthula prapancha, etc. And therefore it is, thing has to be understood, as Pujya Swami said, thing has to be understood as a whole. The discussion would be there because there are experiences, and that would not be negated. Waking world experience cannot be negated. Subject-object duality cannot be negated. Cannot be negated. Your understanding of Advaita, your understanding of the whole cannot refute your the experience of this subject-object duality. Cannot. Because it's not your creation. It's all part of this Ishvara's creation, which is Maya, which you cannot resolve. Subject-object experience continues. Therefore, understanding of a non-duality can never negate the experience of duality. Also, the experience of duality can never give you the knowledge of non-duality. Unless Vedanta walks in and talks to you that in your experience of a duality, it could be a waking or a dream, etc. Well, there is something which is connecting both the subject-object in a given state. Then, well, so in spite of that duality, subject-object duality, there is something, a non-dual thing, which appears as subject-object, well, which transcends this subject-object. Then you understand. So that's an analysis which gives you the knowledge of a non-duality in the experience of a duality. Just experiencing duality can never lead you to the knowledge of non-duality. So these two things we have to keep in mind. Experience of a samadhi, etc. Experience of a, that's the third thing, I'm sorry. Experience of a non-duality. Now there is a third thing. Experience of a non-duality, either it is a deep sleep state, either it is a samadhi, nirvikalpaka samadhi, will never give you the knowledge of non-duality. If that would be the case, we all every day had a experience of a non-duality. You always say it's my sleep. When you say my sleep, I am really there. My sleep, when you say, really, mind cannot be there, M-I-N-E. Mind cannot be there if I is not there. Therefore, it is I is already there. But there is nothing else other than you. That also you should know. In a deep sleep state, there is nothing other than you, including space and time. If you are aware of any of that, well, even as an object, I would say it is not asleep. And therefore, you alone are there. That's a non-duality, that there is nothing other than you. It's not, non-duality is not, there is nothing like me. No, that's not non-duality. Then that way everything is peculiar. Therefore, we cannot say that. There is nothing other than me. That's a non-duality. And therefore, in a deep sleep state, you have an experience of a non-duality. You have an experience of wholeness. You have an experience of as if you are finite. I mean, you are infinite. There is no dimension of you. And but that experience of that non-duality has never led you of the knowledge of a non-duality, even though you have an experience. It could be a samadhi also. The difference between the sushupti and samadhi, even though both are nirvikalpaka experience, non-dual experience, the difference between these two is one is a dark room one is an empty room with a darkness. Other is an empty room with a light. That's the difference. That's it. Nothing else. Yeah. When subject-object both resolve, please understand, savikalpaka samadhi means where subject resolves into the very object. That's a very natural state if you start meditating upon a given thing. So, when the subject-object duality will be there when you start. Meditator and object of meditation are different. But the time will come when the mind has a capacity to get absorbed. With the subject, the ego has a capacity, the meditator has a capacity to get absorbed totally into object of meditation. But still object of meditation is there, that is savikalpaka samadhi. But nirvikalpaka samadhi means no thought. That's how chittavritti nirodha hai. Therefore all thoughts, subject, object, both are resolved, literally resolved. Not subject resolve into or gets absorbed into the object, no. Subject, object, both are resolved. It's a thoughtless state which is generally achieved by, the kumbhaka pranayama. either you do a kumbhaka, antah kumbha or bahish kumbha, especially antah kumbha, you can experience this nirvikalpa samadhi, where there is a totally thoughtless state, but still mind is there. It's not like a sleep. Therefore, there is no darkness there. But at the same time, room is empty. And suppose in the next room, a dog barks, and you are meditating like that, and there is no thought, and dog barks, and now definitely somebody has entered in your room. Okay? Yeah, that's the thing. So somebody entered in a room, it's in your mind. Now the thought of the dog has come. That's it. So this nirvikalpa samadhi also, you have an experience. It doesn't never lead you to the knowledge that I am nirvikalpa. I'm non-dual Brahman, the whole. I'm whole. Never. That's how that person once comes out, he wants to have that experience again and again. If I know that I'm a non-dual, where is the question of experiencing, etc.? There is a question of, because I am free from any duality. But anyway, so basically, sarvamyetan, here Atma has been described, chatushpatam, etc., 4 quarters and all that, ultimately to understand the fourth. When you reach to the fourth, you understand it is whole. That's it. Anyway, so here, and in that this pada, etc., has been, Bhashyakara has very beautifully discussed also, and I am going back to that, where Bhashyakara said this, Trayanam Vishwadinam Purva Purva Vilapanena Turiyasya Pratipattihi iti Karana Sadhanaha Padashabdaha Turiyasya Padyate iti Karma Sadhanaha Padashabdaha. So, Trayanam Vishwadinam Purva Purva Vilapanena, etc. So, 4 padas, Chatushpatvam, Atma has 4 padas. What is the meaning of pada? That's where Bhashyakara has given this. Just before the 3rd mantra, the Bhashyam is there. So, there are 2 meanings. Of course, the first, because the words generally in the Sanskritam, you can derive from the roots. And the derivation is derivation will be different depending upon the context. And the very best example is Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. We have discussed before that Jnanam word is there. That Jnanam word in that sentence, Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma, will have a one particular derivation. Jnana Dhatu is there, Jnanam is there, but the word Jnanam here in that sentence has only, it's just indicating a swarupa. Bhashyakara calls it as a bhava sadhana. Sadhana means by which you reach. Sadhyate anena iti sadhana. So that is Bhashyakara's style to write. So here you can find here karana sadhana, karma sadhana. So sadhana means that which helps you gain a particular meaning is sadhana. So sadhyate anena. So there he said bhava sadhana. Bhava means basically in an abstract sense. Jnanam will have a many meaning. Jnanam means what you gain also is jnanam. So it's a karma, etc. Jnayate iti. Jnanam also means a knower. In that case, it is a karta sense. Janati iti jnana. And by which anything is known also is jnana. So that way it is a karana sadhana. Jnayate anena iti jnana. He said, Bhashyakara says no. Neither, because we are talking about Brahman which is free from karakas. Brahman is not a karta. So janati iti jnana. One who knows. The knower is Brahman. No. Definitely knower is Brahman, but Brahman is not knower. In that sense, well, the jnanam word is in the sense of swarupa, just a root meaning. So jnana. So knowing is the nature of Atma. Objectification is very natural for you. Very natural. Anything which you know is natural. And that is an object of consciousness. Of course, ultimately it is a consciousness, but it is natural on your part. Object of knowledge, we say it's ultimately object of consciousness. Because your consciousness, and for you the objectification is very, very natural. Just the means of knowledge are there, and definitely the whole world, including time, space and everything will be revealed. So, you are self-revealing. Your existence is self-revealing and everything is revealed to you ultimately, and thereby its existence also is proven to you. Anyway, so Trayanam Vishwadinam Puro Puro Vilapanena Turiyasya Pratipatti iti Karana Sadhana Padashabda. So Bhashyakara says, so first meaning we can take about, so there are 4 padas the first 3 padas are viewed in a one way, and the fourth pada will be viewed in another way. Fourth part will be viewed in another way. So, how will you view the first three padas? So, Jagrita Sthana, etc., etc. So, he says, Padyate anena iti pada. Karana is an instrument. So, and here, well, it is said, so, Padyate anena. And so, pura vilapanena turiyasa pratipattihi. Pratipatti means praptihi or knowledge. Either it's same thing here. So, jnana. So, turiyasa pratipatti. Either you gain this Turiya Brahman or you know Brahman. For that, these three padas become a karana, instrument. How? Pura vilapanena turiyasa pratipattihi. So, by resolving the previous one into the later one. So, you get finally this. And so, how the resolution basically, and Bhashyakara says Vishwadinam. So, he is going to tell what is Vishwa, etc. We will be seeing in the third mantra. So, who is the Vishwa, the waker? And you have to include the waking world. As I told you, Veshti Samashti, both. So, Atma is Brahman, and therefore there is nothing outside anything. So it's not that Atma is something which is an individual which has these three states of experience. No. The waker, waking world, both. And that such difference between the Veshti Samashti, the waker and the waking world is not. It has been included in the one pada itself. So Vishwadinam, well, basically, so he's going. So the waker and the waking world, and then, well, definitely will be resolved into the subtle, the dream and the dreamer and the dream world, and then there is a sleep experience where there is everything is unmanifest. So resolution of any of these three is only by and Viveka only. That's the thing. That's Viveka. There is no really a resolution. There could be a resolution at the time of Pralaya, but we are not worried about that. We want to understand Atma as Brahman as a whole. In that case, we have to basically understand everything as a Mithyā other than Brahman. And therefore, the waker and the waking world has to be understood as a Mithyā. The dreamer and the dream world, etc., has to be understood as a Mithyā, etc., etc. So, by vichara, well, ultimately it is resolved Viveka vichara. That is how we always say. For the pot, well, if he wants to understand that I am a clay, it has not to break itself. That's for sure. Without breaking, the pot can understand I am clay, because that's a reality. Taking if pot understands like that I am pot, then it's really a crackpot, because that is not the reality. It's a crackpot. So even though a pot has not formed any kind of a crack, still it's a crackpot, because to say I am a pot, this definitely it's a crack. So this karya basically is a non-separate from this the karana, etc. So the sthula karya, etc., is from the sukshma karana, and sukshma itself is a karya, and it is non-separate from the karana. And karana also is, well, basically, that is maya, you know very well. So prakriti you say, avyakta you say, avyakruta you say, and that is non-separate from the Brahman, which has been mentioned as here Turiya later, and that is non-separate, that is Mithyā, etc. And the real resolution in terms of physical resolution does happen, but up to karana, up to maya. Never that the maya will also, Swamiji, literally resolve into Brahman. That would never be the case. Physical resolution will be there for the sthula to sukshma and sukshma to karana, the karya, the karana, the avyakta. Later, no. But it is non-separate from Brahman, definitely. And therefore, this Brahman, which is the sarvasya adhisthānam, that is the karanam, and that is the cause of everything, ultimately. That lends existence to everything. So, Turiyasa pratipatti. This is how. So, Vishwadinam. So, all these three basically help you in resolution, in understanding Turiya through the resolution of the previous one. And what kind of a resolution? Vichara, inquiry, etc. And so that way, Padyate anena iti pada. So, Pad Dhatu is there, very, very wonderful. I'm going a little away from this. Pad Dhatu means to reach or to know, say. And we use the word padaha for our foot, etc. I mean the leg, rather. Because that also helps you reach. So, padyate anena iti padaha. You can use it even for the pada. Word padaha you must have heard for the Bhagavad Padaha, Bhagavan, Shankaracharya, etc. Govind Bhagavad Padaha or Bhagavad Padaha Shankaracharya, etc. There it is, they have taken that padadhatu in a causal sense, and padayati iti padaha. That is, Bhagavantam padayati iti Bhagavad Padaha. So there the meaning is, pad means to reach. Padyate means definitely reaches. And padayati means one who helps, because it's a causal. One who helps to reach. One who helps to reach means one definitely makes you understand. Which means here one makes you understand. What? Bhagavantam. When he makes you understand Bhagavan, Brahman, etc. So that is Bhagavad Pada. Shankaracharya ji is called Bhagavad Pada. So this is how it has been said. Anyway, so this is one. Out of four, all four are padas. The first three padas are with a karana sadhana, with an instrument, because they help you, ultimately to reach, to understand Turiya, etc. So Turiya se pratipatti, that's how it has been said. And then the fourth pada is the Turiya, etc. There, what is the derivation for pada? So Turiyasya padyate iti karma sadhana, pada shabda. So basically, padyate iti pada. Object, right? Karma means object here. So it's object. So by resolving, what will you understand ultimately? The first three pada, what will you understand? Turiya. So that's an object of your understanding ultimately. So Turiyasya padyate, gnayate, by which you ultimately understand what? So here, we call object of knowledge. So far as like all of us are what? Trying to understand. We are getting knowledge. Then you say knowledge of what? Knowledge of Atma, knowledge of Brahman, knowledge of Turiya, etc. So that becomes like object of knowledge. Never think that Swamiji then knowledge of what? Same way knowledge of Brahman. Therefore there also it's an object, this is also an object. Here it's an object, but really speaking we are understanding the subject. It's already misconstrued. It is already mistaken. That's how all negation. Why neti? If you ask me what is Atma, I have to tell you in one line. Why I should say it is not this, it is not that, it is not that, it is not that. Here also you will find all the three resolution, basically. Resolution of this waker and ultimately the dreamer and this, or the waking world, etc., etc. Why? Why should you resolve? It means resolution is you are negating all this, understanding them as a Mithyā. Why? Because you take yourself to be the waker. That is the reason why to negate. Otherwise, should we negate? Suppose someone asks you what is table, and you say table is not a chair, and table is not a sofa, and table is not a computer, and table is not a camera. You may say, well, this fellow is a crazy guy. I am asking you what is table, he has to narrate in one line, give a definition. Instead, if I say table is not this, table is not that, table is not there, then because it could be possible that you might have taken table as a camera, understood table as a camera, not knowing what is table, then in that case negation is required, and then the real thing will be revealed. So here basically the Atma has been taken as waker, dreamer, etc. Waker is Atma and Atma is not waker, that's a knowledge. Waker is Atma and Atma is waker, that is the ignorance. Waker is Atma and Atma is waker is ignorance. Waker is Atma and Atma is not waker, then you have understood the Atma as it is. Yeah. If you say the beggar is actor and actor is beggar, then means you have not understood properly the actor. Beggar is actor, actor is not beggar. That's your understanding of the actor, the nature of actor. So that's knowledge. And therefore, that's how here all negation. Everywhere you find negation. Everywhere. Because what is not you has been taken as you. That's the problem. So that has to be negated. Anyway, so Turiyasya padyate, gnayate iti karma sadhana. Karma means, as I told you, object. So, and sadhana means, as I told you, sadhana, Bhashyakara uses this word because it helps you gain a particular meaning. So, here karma sadhana hai. So by taking here as an object of knowledge, etc., we understand the word pada here in the fourth pada, etc. It's a no. But we understand Turiya as invariably present in all the three. In fact, every one of them is Turiya. Okay, now we'll go to the bhashyam of the third mantra, because we have completed two mantras totally. And Bhashyakara says, Katham chatushpatvam iti aha. Jagaritam sthanam asya iti jagarita sthana. So what is chatushpat? Katham chatushpatvam? How can you say Atma has this four quarters, four padas, four parts, etc.? So it says Jagaritam sthanam asya iti jagarita sthanam. So asya, for the one means for this Atma who obtains in the waking state. The one who becomes Viveka, as though. So one who obtains in this waking state, Atma alone. So for asya is equal to Atmanaha. Jagritam sthanam asya Atmanaha. Asya means for this Atma, Jagaritam sthanam. So for this sthanam, state. So for this, there is a state called Jagaritam, waking. Means the one who obtains in the waking state as a very waker is this Atma alone. Means he is externally conscious. The consciousness, the Atma, now is externally conscious of the objects, basically. So, Bhashyakara says further, Bahish Prājña Swatma Vyatirikte Vishaye Prajña Yasya Saha Bahish Prajña Bahir Vishaya Iva Prajña Avidhya Krita Avabhasate Iti Arthaha. So, because Atma's nature is consciousness, and the same, that consciousness becomes Bahish Prajña. So, it becomes externally conscious of the objects, external world. So the consciousness which definitely comes through your mind, manifests in the mind, and then definitely, of course, pervades the body, etc., is this Bahish Prajña. So, it has been said, so when you have a recognition of a relevant objects, existence objects in the external objective world, including identification of your own physical body, then the Atma is called Bahish Prajña. I once again repeat, when I have a recognition of a relevant existent objects in the external world and including identification of one's own body, physical body, so the Atma is said to be in a waking state, Bahish Prajña, waker. So there is always relevant object in the external world, and I see that. So in that state, the Atma is called Prajña. Atma is called Bahish Prajña. And definitely senses, etc., should be included. When it is identification with the physical body, means identification identification also with what the physical body has. Not just anatomy, not just this body, but the body has few things. What is inside and the senses, etc. all. So identification with a physical body, as I said, but you have to understand identification with the pranas, identification with the senses, identification with the organ of action, etc. So this complete identification with physical body as well as with what the physical body has. So all this, there is a complete that's called Bahish Prajña. And I'm just describing for a understanding. Now when suppose without a relevant object outside, if you are conscious of an object in the mind, right, then definitely you are a daydreamer. During a day, you are not externally conscious, but you are definitely conscious of some object in the mind. Or so you can be called a daydreamer or a thinker. So object exists in my thought world, but there is no relevant object outside. When relevant object you are seeing outside, object you are seeing outside and there is a relevant object in your mind, it's a waking state. But object which exists in your mind, but there is no relevant object outside, well, you could be a daydreamer. Yeah. So, or else you could be a dreamer. We don't talk about that. They will be talking about this in between consciousness, etc. That will be included. Later we'll see that. But we'll directly go into this, that when you are aware, conscious of a object in your mind, but there is no relevant object outside, you are not conscious of, of the outside world, then let's call it as that same Atma is called a dreamer. So basically, but then Swamiji, what's the difference before you go into, because you have confused us, and therefore you first tell us, what is the difference between a daydreamer and a dreamer? Yeah. So when you are conscious of your physical body and you are conscious of an object in your mind, but there is no relevant object outside, right? That is a daydreamer. When you are not conscious of your physical body, but you are conscious of some object in the mind, and there is you are not conscious of external world also, then it is a dream. This is the difference. This is a dream. So you are aware of yourself, means the physical body, and you are aware of the object in your mind, but not aware of the external object. There is no relevant object outside. Then it's a daydreaming. Thinking also. Daydreaming or a thinker. Sometimes we think and we are sitting somewhere, but we are not aware of the external objects. But definitely I am a thinker, etc. You are aware of, and so you are aware of the physical body. That's for sure. So you experience definitely, or you are conscious of objects projected by your just memory, etc. Then it's a dream state, and which of course you are not aware of your physical body also. And the third one, just because we are going to discuss at a length, but I'm giving you the difference. Same Atma, conscious of this, etc., etc. Now in sleep you have, it's another experience. So, well, my sleep experience is is one of not experiencing anything in particular. It's also experience. Conscious of, totally absent of any object. It's an experience. So deep sleep, in which there are definitely no dreams, is without any qualified experience. And so sleep is also an experience, conscious of, absence of any particular object, including space and time. So not experiencing anything in particular is also an experience. And definitely when you say experience, consciousness is involved. And so definitely, so basically let's say deep sleeper, etc. There is no object involved. And so you are ignorant of yourself, etc. I'm not aware of my true nature, even though you are experiencing the wholeness, etc. I told you, timelessness, because there is no time and yet you are there. So definitely you survived time. Time has gone. You survived time. Therefore you are timeless. So, but you are not aware that I am timeless consciousness or limitless consciousness, which you are really experiencing there. Wholeness you are experiencing. And so definitely that's a deep sleep state, etc. And so all these three states of experience, basically, ultimately they are analyzed here to point out the consciousness without any subject-object discrimination, nirvikalpa, etc., the whole. This is neither waking, nor dream, nor deep sleep, etc. These states, basically, we are the states of mind only. Anyway. So, bahish prajña. So one whose consciousness is is in the object. Definitely, when you say object consciousness, there is subject consciousness. Of course, in a Viveka you can say seer and object of sight, hearer and the words or objects of hearing, etc. So that is there. Saying consciousness which is free from subject and object. If I am subject, I cannot be object. If I am object, I cannot be subject. But definitely, if consciousness is in the form subject-object both, therefore I transcend both. And this transcendence is in terms of basically just an understanding the reality of yourself, that you only appear as subject-object. Waker in the waking world, dreamer in the dream world, etc. So Bahihi. It is from the stand. So this Bahish Prajña means consciousness is external. So basically, so there is actually for the consciousness there is no external or internal, but definitely when consciousness, when we say object consciousness, the waking world consciousness, there is a waker, and so there is a pramata, the knower is there, and that waker basically, the consciousness as a waker, as a pramata of a waking state, will definitely have experience or become conscious of this external world. Otherwise, all pervasive consciousness cannot be called external consciousness, right? So basically the vritti assumes the form of an external object, external to the very place where the vritti originates, right? And in the brain, generally, vritti originates. And that is where the buddhi is available. Buddhi assumes a form. And that is in terms of some external objects, external to the brain. And that is, say, Bahish Prajña. And in dream, there is no definitely external object. Sense organs do not function. And so it becomes Antah Prajña. One's own memory sets up all. So that's what especially we call as a chittam, which is a data bank from which the material basically of the entire dream world comes out. All our memory, knowledge, you can say. And here Bhashyakara says, that's how he says, Bahish Prajña Iva. So Iva, as though the consciousness has become external. There is nothing like external, internal, etc. And so consciousness, the mechanism is this. Consciousness with this antakarana upadhi becomes a pramata, the knower. Antakarana avachinna chaitanyam. So becomes a pramata, and then there will be a object outside. We have seen that, vritti, vyakti, etc. And so there will be object which is pervaded by that thought, idam vritti, and also there is a chidabhasa, which pervades also the object, and that object becomes object of knowledge, etc. So ultimately the consciousness only pervades, because the entire buddhi, entire antakarana is consciousness, right? And therefore, but the entire antakarana avachinna chaitanyam, enclosed, the consciousness which is enclosed by this upadhi called antakarana is a pramata, and that such a conscious mind definitely is a pramata, and in that conscious mind now there is a idam vritti, and that idam vritti along with the chidabhasa of course will pervade the external object, and that object becomes the object of your knowledge. So as though consciousness has gone out, external consciousness, object consciousness. So waking world, so waking world consciousness, waker consciousness, ultimately it is consciousness. Waker is consciousness, waking world is consciousness. So bahir vishaya iva avabhasate. So definitely the consciousness, avabhasate, shines as though external consciousness, object consciousness. How? Bhashyakara adds very quietly, avidya krita. Definitely avidya, due to avidya, definitely, the ignorant person will definitely say, I am seeing an external object, etc. As a pramata, I am a seer. And therefore, the avidya, due to avidya has two things, avarana and vikshepa. So, basically the external world is a vikshepa krita. Avarana means what? Not knowing oneself as Sachidananda, etc., taking oneself as a seer, etc., pramata, etc. One context, the external world, there will be subject-object division also. And so all this is avidya krita, means avarana krita. So avidya and the avarana part can go away. Means if you understand I am a Satchidananda, I am not a pramata. Definitely pramata is consciousness, Veka is consciousness, waking world is consciousness. Yet, so the avidya, the avarana goes away. But the vikshepa, the waking world, the body, etc., well, that it cannot go away because it is ultimately, vikshepa will continue. That is how sometimes instead of avidya krita, they use a maya krita. Pujya Swamiji explains like this. And so avidya, you take it as a just ignorance, and then definitely to make you understand the external world continues, vikshepa continues, it's little difficult. In case of a rope, etc., it is fine. When the rope is there and suppose you have a rope ignorance, right, then definitely vikshepa will be the snake. What is projected is the snake. Vikshepa means projected. Now here if you gain a knowledge of a rope, means the avarana, the ignorance also goes away, and the vikshepa, the projected snake also will go away. That's fine. But so here also suppose the waker and the waking world, etc., have a reality, subject object reality is there, and if you don't appreciate the consciousness as a reality, which is yourself, then in that case, what will happen is the avarana goes. So definitely means I'm a pramata, I'm a waker, that error is resolved due to which is born of the ignorance of oneself. So I am Satchidananda, you understood, that's fine. But then the vikshepa, this world, etc., which is born of avidya, will continue. It will not go. Even for Pujya Swamiji writes that even for the jnanis, he experienced the external world. That's how he says, okay, all of you have come now, I will take the class, this, etc. So he's seeing, hearing everything, he's eating food. So he's seeing the creation. And therefore, here, so that's how it has been translated. Avidya is has been understood as a maya krita. In fact, I told you before also that avidya and maya are interchangeably used. Sometime avidya and maya have been separately shown. Sometime avidya, including Bhashyakara. I have told you, given you an example of a Viveka Chudamani, where while describing avidya karana sharira, Shankaracharya ji has started writing in given verses of all maya. So, Bhashyakara doesn't see, Shankaracharya ji doesn't, see the real difference between a karana sharira and maya, that is karana prapancha. He doesn't see the difference. Why he doesn't see? Because when the things are unmanifest, in an unmanifest state, the difference between the individual upadhi and the total upadhi, Vyashti and Samashti difference will not be felt. It will not be experienced. Like in a deep sleep state, you cannot see the difference between an individual and the world. Vyashti Samashti differences are resolved. Therefore, just because they are not experienced as a separate, well, you can just try it as a samashti unmanifest or a Vyashti unmanifest. So avidya and maya, many acharyas sometimes they interchangeably write, sometimes they separately show. So here also we have to avidya krita, we have to take it now maya krita, because avidya means avarana, and also it has twofold power, means vikshepa. Then avarana goes away, right? Then the vikshepa automatically should go away, means the creation also should go away. Avarana on oneself, the ignorance pertaining to oneself goes away. Then I am the basis of the entire creation, therefore I should not even experience the creation, like the snake will not be experienced later. Once you know the rope, the ignorance pertaining to the rope and the vikshepa, the projection, the snake, both go away. Well, so that happens here also? No. Therefore, we always write it is vikshepa krita. Avidya krita is equal to maya krita, and that in that avarana will go away. Vikshepa, the world continues, because that is product of maya, which is not a upadhi of a jiva, and therefore the upadhi of the jiva is there, which will be taken care of, avidya, etc. So that will go away, not this the creation which is projected of a Maya, or Maya alone manifest in the form of the Jagat. That won't go away. That's upadhi of Ishvara. So, and that's how even a Jnani who says, I am everything, who says that I am Brahmana, which is everything, I am cause of everything, all is me alone, in that still he experiences external world, external consciousness, etc. So we have to say Bahish Prājña iva val avidhya krita maya krita. We have to set it that way. And okay, then further Bhashyakara says tatha saptangani asya tasya hava etasya atmanah vaishvanarasya मूर्धा एव सुतेजाः चक्षुः विश्वरूपः प्राणः पृथक् वर्त्मात्मा संदेहः बहुलः बस्तिः एव रहिः पृथिवी एव पादौ इति अग्निहोत्रकल्पनाशेषत्वेन आहवनीयः अग्निः अस्य मुखत्वेन उक्तः इति एवं सप्ताङ्गानि यस्य सः सप्ताङ्गः. So now, this the Jagrita Sthana, the first pada of this Atma, has been narrated. And here, there's an equation between Vyashti and Samashti. So, they say, Ayam Ātmā is Saptanga. This Atma, in the first quarter, so the Atma alone is in the first quarter, Jagrita Sthana is Saptanga. So, the 7 Angas are there for this Atma. But these 7 Angas are described for the Samashti, Virat. So that Virat Purusha, which is called Virat, it has these 7 limbs. So talk about Atma, and then we feel it's a Vyashti, and then it has been equated with the Samashti. That shows Vyashti Samashti differences are really apparent differences. What is there is just one consciousness, which is Brahman. And it has been already equated. Brahman is Atma, etc. And that Atma is Chatushpat, etc. So Brahman is Chatushpat, you can say. So this Virat Atma is included here, because Pujya Swamiji says, well, this Virat Atma is, he takes it as Adhideva. This Swamiji has explained even in Kena Upanishad also very beautifully. So what is there in Adhyatma, the Vyashti, is really blessed by the Samashti, Devatas, etc., Adhideva. So every sense organ or organs of action, pranas, mind, for all of them, for all the limbs, there are Adhishthana Devatas. So if they are functioning right now, then definitely there is a blessing of all the Devatas. So Adhyatma is all the time pervaded. It's not that some kind of a blessing comes from somewhere else. It's right there. All the Devatas are sitting there. And that's how the intelligent functioning of the every organ, etc., well, reveals there is a conscious being who is manifesting in that very principle of by which the eyes are able to see, ears are able to hear. It's a very intelligent principle. So that involves definitely a conscious being who is right there, and because of which they are able to function. And therefore, Adhyatma is pervaded by the Adhideva. Vyashti is pervaded by the Samashti. Devatas are Samashti. Any Devata is not a Vyashti, it's a Samashti. Even though it has been said in Brahma Sutra, Devatas also have a Sharira, but those Sharira are not like our Sharira, where we are sitting in one place, in some place, and very limited. And that's how fire is available everywhere, Vayu is available everywhere, etc., etc. So basically, Adhyatma is pervaded by the Adhideva. This is how Pujya Swamiji always explains. And so, he is a karmaphala data. Adhideva means Ishvara alone manifests with a certain aspect, is called Devata. And through Devata alone, he basically he blesses. He becomes a karmaphala data. So, Adhyatma is always blessed by Adhideva. And that's how Pujya Swamiji always calls every Devata is an order, particular law, intelligent manifestation, and ultimately Ishvara is the order. So that order alone manifests through the Devatas. So Waker and the waking world together, which completely identifies with this Samashti Atma or Virat, etc., is presented here. and further things about the Saptanga, etc. So we'll talk about it. So Veshti, Samashti both are included here in the third mantra, waker and the waking world, or the Atma, which is identified with the given body. For instance, complex is Viśva, the individual, and the same Atma, which is Brahman, of course, identified with this or associated with the entire prapancha, sthula prapancha, is Virat. So that Viśva and Virat, and here the word is used Vaishvanara, etc. also. Well, there is no difference, because Viśva and Vaishvanara, the difference, Veshti Samashti, is apparent. What is there is just Brahman consciousness. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnāt Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavadishyate Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Hari Om. So, namaste, all of you.
Namaste.
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 Namaste. Namaste.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Pranam Swamiji.
Pranam, pranam, pranam. Hari Om. Namaste. $36 थी.